Hello and welcome to the Wet Palette Podcast. I am your host, Brenda. With me today for my next Spotlight series is Chef Patty Lopez, together with her husband, Nunzio Fuschillo.
Yep.
Patty owns my favorite tiny hidden spot in Cooper City, Effe Café. I'm sure you've seen me post about them a zillion times on Instagram. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. This is so exciting.
Yay! Let's talk first about Effe Café. Let's tell the listeners what it is, what you offer, and all that jazz.
So, Effe Café is...
And get close.
Effe Café is a husband and wife chef team gas station gastronomy project, we'll call it. Nunzio and I opened up during COVID when everything shut down and takeout was the only option. We were working in restaurants then, but obviously, as everyone remembers, so actually we're going on 5 years now. Everything shut down and slowly chefs started finding other ways to use their skills. And there was a space available in Cooper City, this tiny little corner in a gas station that wasn't being used and wasn't really useful for anything. But we looked at it and we were like, maybe we could do something with this. And so we opened up with breakfast and lunch and imported Italian coffee.
The coffee is a must.
Yes. Oh, my God, I love the coffee.
Yeah.
But we make our own sourdough. We make our own croissants. Everything is made from scratch, by hand, either by me or Nunzio. And, everything is just, I don't know, it's a labor of love. We'll call it that way. But we do offer fresh baked goods, breakfast, lunch, coffees, pastries, you name it. We've been catering out of that space on request. I've made a couple of wedding cakes recently out of that space. So we're really just milking that space to do whatever we can and just kind of express our capabilities as chefs. Nunzio's a, chef de cuisine. I'm a pastry chef. And, this is our happy little fairy tale. And it's a way for us to also just have a little bit more flexibility with our time.
Right.
Because
I was going to say, sometimes things sell out.
Yeah.
If you don't, I sent someone recently and she waited until 2 p.m. And then I'm thinking, that's not going to work because you close 2 or 3, right?
We close at 3:30.
And by then you might not have, the sourdough.
So that's the other thing. Sometimes, we are
croissants on Fridays.
Right. Because it's just the two of us kind of doing everything. We are the alpha and omega, from the dishwasher to the prep cook to the baker to the line cook to the barista to the cashier. We're doing everything, every step of the way. So obviously that limits our time a little bit. We're limited by the volume that we can produce. But at the same time, we want to make sure that, we make enough so that we sell out and make a fresh batch the next day. And so whatever we're selling every day is made fresh. The croissants are baked from scratch, baked fresh every morning. Nunzio's there at 4 o'clock in the morning.
And he's posting about it on Instagram at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, God bless him.
You can follow the actual baking of the croissants on Instagram, on their Instagram account.
He gets up every morning. He has his first espresso of the day with all of our, Effe tribe. And he's like, hey, this is what we're doing today. So he bakes the croissants, he bakes the bread, he bakes the focaccias, he throws together, whatever specials we've got going on. And we just do it every day.
And it really is the type of place where everybody knows your name because it becomes, it's not the type of place that you're going to, the service, although great, but it's not the quickest, right? So then you're there and you have to wait. It is what it is. Everything's from scratch. Yeah. Everything is mom and pop.
Right.
But it's part of the charm.
Right.
Because
and, we're making it to order. It's not something that I'm just pulling out of the freezer.
The fun part about that is meaning that's not the place where you're going to go through a drive-thru and you're timing it.
Right.
Let's go, I got to go. Well, then don't go. Don't go for that. But that's part of the charm because you're there and then everyone's a regular almost, right? At some point, everyone becomes a regular.
So at this point, yes.
Yes, and then regulars recognize regulars because I've run into people that I only run into there.
Yeah.
So everyone's having a conversation and then at some point my order's out. And
what's really fun actually is when a first-timer shows up and there's a bunch of regulars there at the same time.
And everyone's just talking.
Well, and then they come up to the cashier and they're like, oh, hi, this is my first time here. And that triggers the regulars and they just swarm. They're like, oh my God, you got to try that. And then I'm sorry, you guys, just please a little bit of faith. Our people are very enthusiastic and it's so exciting. But it is like it literally is our tribe. They're so enthusiastic and they're so supportive. And honestly, from the day that they figured out what we were doing, because when we first opened during COVID in a gas station, people were coming in like, dude, I want an empanada. Where's my hot dog? So I was like, I'm sorry.
Or Nunzio's favorite, can I have oat milk with cinnamon on my coffee?
Yeah.
He's like,
I have a
no.
triple pump vanilla soy.
Like, you will have the coffee the way I want you to have the coffee.
No, you're having coffee. You're having real coffee.
Yeah, good quality coffee.
Yeah,
Suck it
he's
up.
like, we're not putting things on it. It's coffee. You either like it or you don't.
Yes.
And so, all of our, eventually people become regulars. And honestly, that's something that I've kind of prided myself on. Some days I make a game out of it. I'm like, let me see how many of my customers I can, greet by name.
Right.
And I do, like, I make a point of that, because that's also, we're not just chefs. We're also, it's hospitality. Right. At the end of the day. Right. So if I can elevate your little gas station experience just a little bit by recognizing you and, telling you, hey, listen, I'm holding a little space in my brain for you. Yeah. I remember you. I know what you like. I know who your kids are. I know that you're on some kind of keto diet right now. I'm going to help you navigate them. Whatever it is, I see you and I appreciate you because you're such an important part of what makes Effe special. It's that person's support. And every one of our customers, like, we have made incredible friends through Effe because they're open to it.
Yeah.
They get what we're trying to do and they're with it. And they're like, okay, cool. It's not fancy, but it's just, it's good food. Right. It's done right. And those are our people.
And also, I think, even though it's not a ventanita, but because it's just like a counter on the side. Yeah. Where you're kind of like lean into it while you wait, it becomes kind of like Cooper City's ventanita, inside.
It is.
Inside, because that's exactly what everyone's doing. You're just chit-chatting and leaning on the little counter and just waiting, Yeah. My MO is, I walk in and I ring if there's nobody there. Yeah. I obnoxiously ring the bell. There's a little bell
we
for
have
service.
A couple of friends like that.
No, it does it too.
Yeah, Noah does. And we're like, oh, Noah's here.
And you're looking, you must be like, that's either Brenda or Noah. We're like, hello, who's here? I won't do it if there's people there. But because I usually go right before carpool, like later, and I usually go in for the coffee, I'm like, service. I love it there. You're doing such a good job.
Thank you. We try really hard. Like, at the end of the day, that's what I got. I'm like, look, we're trying.
Yeah, and if you haven't done, you're going to hear us probably mention him 1,000 times, but Nunzio was on the podcast. He was season 2, episode 33, so make sure and catch that.
That was a while ago.
See? That was season 2?
Yeah.
That was right in the beginning.
That's true.
So the road to Effe is quite colorful. Let's take it back to the beginning. And I mean for you, like way before. And by beginning, I mean something we both have in common. Hialeah.
Oh, yes.
Woo!
I'm very proud of that.
East side or west side?
Oh, west side.
Enemy.
I'm sorry, dude.
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm sorry.
So
we lived in a little house on West Hialeah, like not like super west, but like right off of Red Road.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's west.
Yeah, I went to Twin Lakes and Palm Springs Middle and Hialeah High. Wow. So not like so far west that I went to HML.
Right. I was gonna say because then
like not
I'm
that
like,
far
but then
west.
you still go to Hialeah High? Okay.
I still went to Hialeah High. Yeah.
Okay. But you were like from the outskirts. Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever. Your parents Cuban and Mexican?
Yes. So dad's Cuban, mom is Mexican. She came over when she was 9, so she's a little bit more. She's my Americanized version. So the Mexican influence is very light.
I was going to ask, like, which influence do you have?
A lot more Cuban.
Okay.
A lot more Cuban growing up in Hialeah, but just kind of assimilating, my Cuban friends and their Cuban families, and they were like super duper Cuban. Right. So that stuck a lot more.
Yeah, forget it. Even the Americans in Hialeah have a Cuban accent.
Right, exactly.
It's just how it is.
So, I mean, mom was still Mexican, but it wasn't like, I don't know how, she grew up there, but she was also, very young when she came over. So a lot more of like whatever the culinary or the Mexican influence was actually from my grandma Selena.
Okay.
So, I ate grandma's tamales and her tortillas and empanadas and things. Whenever she came over, she would come over in the summer, and that was like my exposure to that.
Okay.
But yeah, for the most part, I grew up in Hialeah with all the little Cuban kids, like a good little Cuban Hialeah girl.
That's all you need to say.
Yeah, I was like, that's it.
When did cooking become a clear path for you?
Oh, that's interesting, actually. I was in my early 20s.
Okay, so late.
Yeah.
So out of high school, you weren't like, this is what I'm going to do.
No, actually, I was on a pre-med track.
Okay, that's different.
Yeah, it was very different. My whole life, I was like, no, I'm going to grow up. I'm going to be a pediatrician. This is great. I'm going to go to medical school.
I think you would have made a good pediatrician.
so.
You're like, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I went to college. I went to Florida State. I got my degree in biology and, chemistry and physics, and I did all the science things. I was a good student, but not a good student. Like, I was very bright, but I was a terrible student. I never studied.
Got it.
So that's a problem when you want to go to medical school.
Right. You have to really apply yourself.
Yeah. So, I understood the concepts, but I just didn't have that discipline to study. So out of college, I moved to New York. I got a secretary, like a receptionist job with a plastic surgeon. I was so that one's a little bit muddled. When I graduated high school, this was like, 2002, Sex in the City.
Because everyone comes back to Hialeah.
Right, everyone comes back to Hialeah. But at that point, I was like, no, I need to leave Hialeah. I need to spread my wings.
Good for you.
And I wanted to go to, New York was fascinating to me. So my freshman year of college, actually, I went to NYU. But it was so cold and so lonely that I was like, no, too far. So I came back to Florida my sophomore year, and I ended up just going to Florida State. So I was like, okay, I need to spread my wings, but, maybe not that much. That's too far.
Tampoco pa tanto.
Right. That was a lot. Like, in hindsight, I'm like, little Patty, that was a big bite.
Okay.
So, okay, I learned from that, but, I graduated and everything, and I still had, like a beef with New York, so I was like, no, I'm going to figure this out.
Right.
So I graduated. I went back to New York.
Me.
Right. I was like, no, I can do this.
Okay.
I went back and I got a job, and I was like, I'll study for my MCATs, and maybe I can go to medical school in New York, and it'll be a whole thing. And that was my whole trajectory. So I was working for this plastic surgeon in the Upper East Side, very, well respected and, really great in his field. And he had all these tremendous resources. He had this beautiful apartment in the Upper East Side and nannies and chefs and things and and he never had time for his family. And I had like a moment of reflection where I was like, do you love this enough to be able to give up all of that time?
Right.
Because you want to be a pediatrician, which is not as glamorous as plastic surgery. You will eventually have kids and a family, and you're probably not going to have a nanny and all these different things. Does this make sense?
Right.
And so ultimately I was just like, I don't think I love this enough to be able to make those sacrifices. And I don't know that I have the stamina to study that hard, honestly. Right. But being that I was in New York, I thought, well, you know what? I like to bake. And honestly, in the back of my mind, when the Food Channel used to be like chocolate and sugar sculpting and not all the,
all the bam.
Right. Yeah. Before it was much more serious cooking.
Yeah.
I used to sit and watch these sugar sculpting marathons for hours. But I couldn't sit through 10 minutes of surgery on the Learning Channel. I was like, no, not my thing. Yeah. So I thought, maybe there's something to that. In the back of my head, in my fantasy of fantasies, what I want is a cookie shop. So maybe I need to pursue that. So I took a couple of recreational classes at the Institute of Culinary Education. It's in Manhattan, in the Flatiron District. And I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. I was just like, it was a whole new day. So, I looked into it. They had professional classes where you could go, you become a chef or a pastry chef, whatever it is that you wanted to do. And it was an intensive program, a little bit like Cordon Bleu used to do, actually. And so it was a 6-month intensive program. It was 4 nights a week where you were going to class, and then 3 months of stage. So, when I decided, actually, my dad being a wonderful Cuban father that he was, I said, Daddy, I don't want to go to medical school anymore. He's like, ¿Qué? Lost his marbles. But I was like, no, this is fine. This is a thing. I'll be okay. I signed up, and for a good 6 months, I was working from 9 to 5 in the doctor's office, and then doing this Superman costume change on the 6 train to get to class. And then from 6 to 10 every night, 4 nights a week, I was in class. And it was, this is how the eggs and the cakes and the pies and the doughs and all of the things until I finished the program. And then, I did my stage at that point. I did my stage at Daniel, actually.
They connected you to that?
Yeah.
Wow.
So when you finish the program, they're like, okay, now you have to decide where you would like to go.
Wow.
So it was a little bit, I had no idea who Daniel Boulud was. And I didn't know who Dominique Ansel was. who was actually the pastry chef there at the time. So yeah, I know. So I was just kind of like this clueless little girl from Hialeah, and I was like, well, Daniel, that's like a few blocks from the office where I work, so that probably works. I was like, that's fine.
Yeah.
And so when I went back and I told the chef, like the student coordinator, I was like, listen, this is where I would like to stage. They set me up. It worked out well, and that's where I finished the rest of my program. So then I was working full time, and then I was going to school at night, and then on Saturdays I was going to Daniel to do my hours as a stage. And that was a whole other world. Because I'd never seen anything like that. Like, my family is not culinarians. My family is actually teachers. So my sister, my aunts, everybody's a teacher. Everyone's in education. Everyone's in like higher learning or whatever. These, you go to college, you get a career. I was kind of an outlier going to culinary school and, getting into this world. Mm-hmm. In fact, I remember my best friend at the time, she shipped me up a copy of Kitchen Confidential. Okay. Anthony Bourdain's Kitchen Confidential. She wrote on the inside, she's like, listen, here's a sneak peek of what you're getting yourself into. Right. So I think she was kind of like, look, think about this carefully. And
not the TV show. This is the real
this
life.
Isn't like, you're not going to go and play casitas and you're going to make cute little muffins and cute little cupcakes. Like, this is hard. So she sent it to me. I read it and I was just like, sign me up.
Even better.
I was like, that's amazing. Because, when you get to that level in that world, like, everyone's a little bit of a pirate. And unbeknownst to me, I guess I'm a little bit of a pirate too. So I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. Let's go do that. Yes. Yeah. This is great. And so I got into it and I loved it. And I didn't care that my days were so long, even when I was going to class in the evenings.
And that's how you love it. Because you're not
I was just like,
you're not counting the hours. You're
6 o'clock
there.
6 o'clock at night. I just did a full day of work, but my day is starting over. I was like, okay, sure, let's do it. And I was just so excited, but I was like, this is what I have to do. This is where I need to be. I'll figure it out, but this is what I need to be doing.
So Daniel, stage, great.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. I'm never going to forget my first day actually staging at Daniel. The pastry sous chef, Lori, says to me, he's like, okay, I need you to clean this pineapple. And I was like, okay, sure. So I took my knife and I took all the peel off and everything. And he comes over, he's like, what, did you do this with your teeth? And I was like, no, I did it with my knife. It's not good? No? Okay. I'll do it again. And it was like, I don't know. It was a very different world to be in, where they were kind of just like, no, it's got to be like this. It's got to be perfect. It's got to be right. It's got to be precise. So I was like, oh, okay. And, thank goodness I was kind of just like, all right. She's like, I was very naive about it. I was like, okay, sure. That's fine. I'll do it. That's fine. And I just kind of rolled with it.
Good. So you were at the right place, right time, right frame of mind. To welcome the criticism, without the attitude or without feeling,
Yeah, I think that's where I was kind of like, okay, I mean, look, I don't know anything. So if you just tell me what I need to know, I'll figure it out. Okay. Just show me.
And then from there?
I came home. I came home to Miami. Because I was
done
with New York
here, and there's nothing like that here.
So my very, very first job out of culinary school, I was just like, now what? Right. And like I honestly didn't even know where to start. So I just started sending my resume around, and I was like, whenever I'll get in as a hostess, I don't know, whatever you need, just let me in.
I mean, I would imagine saying you staged at Daniel would have been impressive. I would have been impressed.
Yeah.
Even if it was just, a stage, but you were there.
Yeah. So I was kind of
in Miami, like who at the time was
this is like 2009. Right. This is like 2009, 2010. So the scene in Miami is still very young at that point, I think, like especially for, Miamians, I think. But I applied for a job at the Sunday House in Delray Beach. Mm-hmm. And
that's still around. I love that. That was really cute.
I think they just I don't know. I'm not sure if they reopened it. They were renovating it. Right. Something's going on there. I don't know if they ever reopened it.
I'm gonna have to look that up. Thanks.
But the chef there took a chance on me, Chef Daniel Ramos. He was like, "Listen, I don't have anything in pastry right now, but I need somebody in garde manger. So do you want that?" I was like, "Sure, I'll take it." Yeah. I'll take it. And so. I worked garde manger for a few months there. Meanwhile, so a little bit before that, while I was in New York and I was trying to do my stage at Daniel, they had like a student, kind of like a job board. But there was an ad that said, two Michelin-star restaurant in Tuscany seeks experienced cooks to open a restaurant in Miami. I was like, well, I don't have any experience and I'm not a cook, but I'm from Miami.
Right.
So that probably helps. And I really, really want to go to Italy. And I don't know why. Like at that time, there was a bug in my head that I was just like, I needed to go to Italy. Like that was just where I needed to be. So
just at that time, because I feel like I have that bug every day. I mean, I have to go to Italy.
Well, it started then. It started then. Yeah. Honestly, my previous fascination had always been with France. So this idea of going to Italy and like figuring out a way to get it to Italy
for
was
pastry too.
Yeah, especially for pastry. Was just kind of out of left field.
Yeah.
But I applied and, I sent in my resume. I was like, listen, Chef Andy, please, get me in touch with these people. I think this could be a really cool opportunity. Eventually if they open the job in Miami, if they open the restaurant in Miami, then I'll have a job.
Yeah.
I have something, to come back to. So that was the whole goal. Send me there so I can open this place in Miami and then, I'd start my career and everything. So that is all kind of going on at the same time that I'm starting to work at Sunday House, and that application process took several months.
Okay.
By about, I'm going to say like 3 or 4 months into my time at Sunday House, they get back to me and they say, hey, listen, the Italians are coming. They like your portfolio and your resume. They're interested in meeting with you. So they're coming to New York on this day at this time, and they're interviewing candidates. So I was like, yep, I'll be right there.
So cool.
So I took a couple of days. I flew up to New York for the day. I met with them. And one of the people that was doing the interviews was actually the son of the chef whom I would eventually go to work with in Italy. And I was the only person that applied for pastry. I was the only Miamian, I guess. I don't know. Like, ahí bien.
Right.
I'm guessing. I took a shot.
The good juju.
I guess, yeah. So, they said, okay, you know what? Yeah, we'll take you and 2 other guys. And that summer, they sent me to Italy, which is where I met Nunzio.
Right.
And, everything just kind of devolved from there. But that was like the very beginning of it.
Yeah, funny how worlds collided in the best
I mean,
ways
that's what
for
it
you.
is. It was just like, being in the right place at the right time and just kind of being open to the vibe, I guess. Like, I don't know. I was like, where's this going? Let me follow that. Let me just kind of see what this is. And it just kind of lined up.
So then you meet there, you hated each other, or so he told me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until you didn't. It was one of those. I hate you, but I think I love you now.
A little bit. It was my coming to Italy. So this town where we work, Caino, is in a town that you can walk around in 15 minutes. Like, you can walk the perimeter of this town in 15 minutes in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. It's like 50 people and a flock of sheep, and that's it. And this restaurant.
Right. This 2 Michelin-star restaurant.
Right. This 2
They love to do
Michelin-star
that.
restaurant.
This restaurant in the middle of nowhere.
But, that's part of what helps, like, preserve its charm and its culture and everything. And so we got there, and it was like, the Americans are coming. And they, mislabeled, I don't know, they misconstrued me from the beginning.
Right.
So they're like, oh, here's all these cocky Americans. They think they're going to come and do all this shit. And I was like, I don't know anything.
Y la de Hialeah también.
Yeah, right? So I actually remember one day I had, like, not necessarily like a showdown, but just kind of like a clarifying of terms, which was kind of interesting because I didn't speak any Italian and they spoke very little English. So already understanding each other was challenging sometimes. But one day, like, I don't know what it was. The sous chef la tenía cogida conmigo, and I had to just kind of put my hands up and be like, listen, I don't know what you think of me. I don't know what you want from me. I just want to show me how to make the crème anglaise, show me how to make the pasta, show me how to make the bread, and I just want to go home and, do whatever you show me. Like, I'm here to learn from you. He was like, oh, okay. And then things changed a little bit. Like, the attitude was very different. And I made a really...
You're like, I can even clean up beautiful pineapples.
Yeah. I was like, you should see my knife skills.
You should see my knife skills.
You should see my pineapple skills. But, then, like, the attitude changed a little bit, and then they were a little bit more welcoming. And it also, I think, helped that we all, like, all the staff, except for 2 guys, all lived together in one apartment. Real world style.
Oh, my gosh.
So we were in each other's face 24 hours a day.
Wow.
And, we were in the kitchen at 8:30 in the morning, and we through lunch service, and in the afternoon we had a couple of hours off, and then at 5:30 we were back in the kitchen for dinner service until 11 o'clock at night. And we were just
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even the best of friends would get in each other's faces.
It's a lot.
In that situation.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we weren't so crazy about each other. And then
Right.
we kind of got to understood each other. And then that's how Nunzio and I became friends.
Friendly friend. And then you somehow end up back here at Valentino's. Is that when you came back?
Yeah. So this is a couple years later. Nunzio and I, we met. I came home after the stage. The restaurant that was meant to open was delayed because, Miami. And it was just kept getting pushed back and pushed back. So I said to the owners of the restaurant that was opening here, they said, listen, I have an opportunity to go back to Italy. Nunzio at that point had said to me, there's a chance for both of us to work together here in Italy if you want to come back. So we went back to Varenna, which is just off Lake Como. And we were there for about 3 years, working together. At this point, about 3 years in, the economy in Europe starts to get kind of dodgy. It's really hard to find work. Things are, not looking great. And so I said to Nunzio, well, why don't we just give it a shot back in the States and let's see how this works out. So then 2013, Nunzio and I moved to the States from Italy, and that's when, we started at Valentino. And it was interesting for Nunzio, too, because he's basically starting from scratch.
And in Broward, no less, which is where you are now. Like, you ended up being in Broward anyway.
But it turned out that Giovanni had also done a stage at Caino. Mm-hmm. So when he saw Nunzio's resume and my resume, and they both said Caino, he was like, wait a minute, I know that place.
Okay.
So that was like a trigger to him. He was just like, oh, maybe I know these people. At this point, Nunzio, didn't really speak much English, so that was also a barrier for him to try to, find work. So when we got called to Valentino's, Giovanni spoke Italian, and there were other Italians in the kitchen.
Yeah. Which was a big deal at that time.
Yeah. And
I didn't like Giovanni much, but...
He's a character.
Yeah, but I did like the restaurant, which is funny.
Yes.
I was like, okay, I'm just going to ignore that he exists, even though it's his restaurant, but I do like the restaurant.
I will say he was a challenging character.
Sure. I'm sure.
With the best of intentions, but sometimes a lot.
Yeah.
A lot. So, it worked out that there was work for both of us. Right. And, even logistically, like we could drive to work together and come back together. And, that's where we kind of got our foot in the door here in the States. And so, a few months after that, I saw that Hetty Goldsmith was hiring a pastry assistant at Michael's, and I applied for the job. And so I went over there, and I was at Michael's for about 1.5 years. I was still kind of part of that same graduating class as Neven and Mike.
Yeah.
And Neven was my chef, and he was incredible. I have, in hindsight, when I think about that time, I came across so many incredible people.
Yeah. Right.
Who are not just very talented, but really like good people inside to work with.
I love hearing that.
No, they were incredible. When I sit and I think about it, I'm like, God, these are people that had your back.
Yeah.
No matter what was going on. Jason, Chef Jay, he was my sous chef when I was at Michael's. So I was doing pastry, and he was.
I was probably in and out also as a
probably.
diner, a bunch of times. You guys were all there. I'm like, hey.
I remember I always felt they had your back.
And we always made room for dessert there too. That was the thing.
Yeah. No, the desserts at Michael's were really great. And honestly, working with Hetty did so much to influence my approach to pastry as well, because she is very playful. And she's not afraid to, she puts together interesting or unexpected flavors that work really well together. And, it was a different side from what I had seen at Daniel and Caino, where everything is very millimetrically precise. And I was like, oh no, I kind of just want to play with food. This is cool. And so the fact that she's got, her junk in the trunk cookies with everything pretzels and potato chips and all these different things. I was like, oh, you can do that? That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. I see that.
Yeah.
So it was a really interesting time, I think. So between like Michael's and at that time, Cypress Room was also
way
going
ahead
on.
of its time.
Oh my God.
Way
I
ahead of its
miss
time.
Cypress Room. Honestly, I look at the Gibson Room, and I haven't been yet, which I really want to go to, but there's a lot that I see about the Gibson Room that reminds me of it. And, it kind of makes sense. Like, there's Mike, there's Chris. We were all at Cypress Room at the same time. So that same kind of vibe, I imagine. And I can't wait to go. But I feel like that's, the next iteration of Cypress Room. But, that whole exposure right there just, I don't know, it just kind of influenced my approach to food as well.
I wrote an article. I started writing about the Michelin Guide on my blog, probably like in 2014. So writing the angle of how would Miami fare if they were to come right now? And part of it, my article was kind of like, we probably wouldn't. But if anyone had a chance, and I think I mentioned like 2 or 3, I think Balud, what was the name of it? It wasn't Balud Sood, it was Balud, had a different name before Balud Sood, I forgot. And then Cypress Room. I was like, because that's our only, because Balud was, kind of an import, but and one of those that I always say, like, the chef's not here, but I was like, our very own would be Cypress Room.
Yes.
This is right before Shikani and then following year I mentioned Shikani, like that would be, but Cypress Room. I was like, that would be hands down.
Cypress Room was a little gem. Like,
and then when he moved it
from
Cypress Room to Cypress
Tavern,
he said in an interview somewhere something along the lines of, like, Miami didn't get it or didn't understand it or it did not.
Cypress
and I was
really
like,
ahead of its time.
It really was.
It really was.
And then, it was still good, but it wasn't as niche as it was originally.
Yeah. I think I had the feeling that Cypress Tavern was sort of an attempt to make the Cypress Room more approachable.
Right, 100%, yeah.
But
that's what he said.
I love that Cypress Room was that very European hospitality,
so tiny.
Yeah, and it was so
like
tiny.
Like 2 seats at the bar.
And the service was impeccable.
Yeah,
and you
everything.
had the amuse and you had the macarons at the end and the little details.
Yeah.
And even the decor and the music and everything. Like, it was just this special, beautiful little gem that was just kind of existing on its own.
It even made the taxidermy charming.
Yeah.
Even though even though it's not my thing and there's this pig or whatever the thing looking at me, but a wild boar or whatever it was. I was like, okay, it kind of goes. Okay, I get it. It kind of matches.
Only you can do that.
Only you could get away with that. But okay.
I really miss Cypress
I don't
Room.
think I remember that you were there. I know Michael's Genuine and Valentino, and obviously we'll get to Bourbon.
I went from Michael's to Cypress Room and then back to Michael's for a bit.
Okay.
But yeah, that was wild. It was a really intense period. And I remember, Nunzio was at Bache at that time, so we were still kind of, in the neighborhood with each other and just kind of like going back and forth in Midtown. But that was, I don't know.
Which was kind of a ghost town at the time, in a way.
Yeah.
Like you had a spot in this corner and then ghost town, and then the other corner had a little spot, and nothing was like next to each other.
I never understood why Midtown never like took off.
Yeah.
Because there were some really great places. I mean, I thought Sugar Cane was awesome, and Boche,
that block was hot for a hot minute.
Yeah,
and then it wasn't.
And then was it.
And then it wasn't.
And then it wasn't.
And now it is. That entire area. I every time I go to Mati's and I look around, like I can't remember. I remember walking around here and you had to like rush to your car.
Yeah.
Because once you left that block, there was nothing.
Yeah.
Nothingness.
Yeah.
You echoed your voice. And you like just sped walk to your car. But now it's complete people walking, strollers, dogs. I mean.
Yeah. Well, I think, all those, the apartment buildings, all the condominiums around it too, like people live there now.
Which seemed crazy
really
back
cool.
then. I'm like, who would buy an apartment here? Well. And then now it all worked out.
Yeah. Thank goodness for that.
So then you did that. You went back to Michael's.
So I went back to Michael's. And then sometime later, the chef from Bourbon Steak approached me and he said,
Gabe or Michael?
Gabe.
Okay.
Gabe.
You love Gabe.
I do. I do. Gabe has a little piece of my heart. Gabe showed up one day. He's like, I need a pastry chef. Would you be interested? I was like, me? I was flabbergasted. But he was like, won't you come over to Bourbon Steak, come check it out, and, maybe you do a tasting for us. And I had never done a tasting before, so I had no idea what that all entailed. Like, that was my first, real pastry chef gig. I was like, okay. And, it went over really well. And Bourbon Steak was such a cool place, like especially at that time. Again, I kept coming across these really supportive, amazing chefs. Like the sous chefs at the time were fantastic, and Bourbon Steak became my family, and even to this day, I run into them. We keep in touch.
That's awesome. And this is where I meet Patty.
Yeah,
by the way. So it was around.
This was 2015.
15, right?
2015
right.
when I started at Bourbon Steak, and it was just a great place to be because Gabe was so supportive of whatever I wanted to do. So he was just like, it's your menu, do what you want.
Yeah, and she did great, by the way, because I just told her this story a couple weeks ago that she didn't know, but when Patty left Bourbon Steak and I walked in and, I'm having dinner and then we used to go to Bourbon Steak a lot at that time.
Yeah.
All the time. And they came out and they formally wanted to introduce me to this new pastry chef, poor thing. And I was not having it. I was having a 2-year-old tantrum. Like, okay, you're what? No, where's Patty? And then they're like kind of like on the deal, like, no, Patty's no longer with us. This is so-and-so who came from I don't know where. And I'm like no poker face. Yeah. I was like, no, I want Patty. And then I'm tasting the desserts and I'm like, they were like, well, how is it, Brenda? What do you think? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just not as sweet. It's just, no, I want Patty. I was a brat for the longest time and bummed every time dessert came. It just didn't have, you always had that little angle where like you would throw in like popcorn or you would throw in something unexpected, which is exactly what you said.
That's what
right?
I picked up from
But it was
Hetty.
Also very pretty and meticulous. It wasn't just like, it wasn't a hot mess. It was beautiful, but it also tasted well. And there was always a little surprising factor, especially we talked about this for the Miami Spice menus. With Bourbon Steak, well, I don't know if they did this past year, but usually the MO at Bourbon Steak is to make things that are only for Miami Spice menu, as opposed to putting things that are on the menu on the Miami Spice menu.
Yeah.
There are things you can only get if you go for Miami Spice, which is so special.
Yeah.
And Gabe, I know you're not there, but corn ravioli, I will never stop talking about it. Yes, I know. Anyway, he hates me for that. It was so good. Yeah. Sorry, but see, things I remember from back then, 10 years ago, and I'm still talking about it.
Yeah, of course. Those are those dishes that they just kind of like impress, like they just make an impression on you. You're just like, it's so good.
Yeah. Your café con leche, you had a café con leche dessert.
Yeah. Oh, that was the Miami Spice that I wanted to be a Hialeah girl. There was
so good.
There was a café con leche dessert, and there was another one that was like guava and cream cheese.
Oh, the guava and cream cheese one. Yes, I remember. That was, and I think I did. We pulled up the picture the other day when I was trying to find it. I was like, probably. Like, look at your food from 10 years ago. I have it on my phone.
Oh my gosh. But yeah,
That's
Bourbon Steak was an opportunity for me to just do whatever I wanted. So I was like, okay, this is cool. So I could take all the different techniques or textures or flavors or different stuff.
And you had freedom to play.
I had freedom to play.
Yeah.
And, I could test dishes and I'd be like, Gabe, what do you think? And he would try it and he would give me his feedback and we would work on it. And I could change the menu as often as I wanted. And, I tried to keep it seasonal because that's what I got from Michael's, is the importance of seasonal food and making, and, honestly, that Italian approach to food too. Like, eat tomatoes when the tomatoes are good.
Right.
Don't eat tomatoes, when they're not good.
Corn ice cream or something like that. Yeah.
And to just kind of always be innovative. And honestly, that was something that Neven kind of impressed on me too, because at Michael's you had different specials and you always had we were always changing based on whatever was available. So I was like, okay, you need to be able to, come up with something on the fly. You kind of flex those creative muscles and you start to put things together. So I did have that freedom to change the menu as often as I wanted at Bourbon Steak. And every time I would come up with a new dish, it's funny, it was like a game for me. Mm-hmm. So I would come up with a different challenge for myself. Like, okay, what if I make a dessert, but every component is a vegetable? Mm-hmm. Or what if I want a dessert, but I want it to be black and white? How do I do that? And, coming up with different things like that. I had a panna cotta that was it a panna cotta? I don't remember. No, it was a red velvet cake, but the sponge was made out of beets because red velvet cake used to be sweetened with beets, and that's where it gets its color. So there's a lot of play in it for me in that sense, and a little bit of nostalgia too. So, I'm always trying to find something different, try to find a different combination.
And you trigger memories when people eat that.
Yeah, right. And ultimately that's what I'm going for. I mean, have you ever read like Water for Chocolate? Or you've seen the movie?
The movie, yes.
Okay, so the idea is Tita, the heroine, just kind of like imbue whatever she's feeling goes into her food. So that's the, magical realism element of it, where she's kind of like, she's mad. So the food, she's cooking a pot of stew or whatever, and then everybody eats it and they feel
Now I feel like I have to rewatch
mad
that.
or sad. Or and
Yeah.
the book is beautiful. The
Yeah.
movie, I was kind of like, ooh, that's a lot. But the book is really beautiful. But the
Okay.
sense is that. So, you're making something like as a chef, I think, if you're making food, you're making a dish, and you want it to be its best version of itself, you make it like it's for yourself. Because, if I'm making myself a sandwich, I'm not going to make a caca sandwich. I'm going to make a yummy sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to try to make the best that I can. Okay, so I'm going to make this beautiful sandwich. Now I'm going to give it to somebody else.
Right.
And that's, what every dish should be. You cook as if you're cooking for yourself or somebody that you love or whatever, and then you just hand it off. And if you're successful in that, that translates really well. And that's what
it's evident. I get that. Yeah.
That's what makes the dish memorable. It's like, oh, somebody thought about this. That's actually something that really frustrates me sometimes when I'll eat something and I'm like, they didn't put any thought into this.
Right.
Or they didn't did they taste
just
it or
went
did
through the motions.
they just did it because,
Right.
Because this is how it's supposed to go together. But I'm like, but is this real food?
Or like when something looks gorgeous and then you bite into it and you're like,
And it has no flavor. Oh my goodness.
that drives me crazy.
That actually drives me
You're like,
nuts, especially with dessert. A lot of times I find that some restaurants, they have these beautiful, really amazing dishes, and it falls flat on dessert.
Yeah.
Like this summer when Nunzio and I were back home in Italy visiting, and we went to this really beautiful restaurant. It had a Michelin star, and the dishes were so clever and so flavorful and so like playful with a lot of things and that same sort of unexpected flavors. I was so excited when dessert came, and then I tried it. I was like, it fell flat. Like, dude, just a little bit of salt,
And
a little
fine
bit of
dining, that's huge because
yeah.
especially with a star, and to end on such a flat note, it's a bummer.
Like that kind
That's
of
happened to us several times recently, actually, and
So that's kind of a bummer. I'm like, no, you guys, like pastry
Right.
shouldn't be an afterthought. Like
No.
dessert, that's your grand finale.
Yeah.
Like make it good. Don't just be like, oh, well, they already ate 8 courses.
Right.
They're not going
No,
to pay
that's what we're
attention
there
to this.
for,
So I'm
right.
like, no, you got to think about it.
Yeah, it has to be good too. So so bourbon steak. So when does bourbon steak end? And Brenda cries.
Bourbon steak ends with the birth of my daughter.
Okay.
So
These kids.
I was at Bourbon Steak up until, I remember working New Year's Eve service. I was 38 weeks pregnant with this gigantic belly, and I was, happy as a clam, waddling around the kitchen, doing my thing. It was great. It was an easy pregnancy. But Lola was born that January, and things started to get a little bit
Motherhood,
logistically challenging.
Right.
So, I tried to work my schedule a little bit. Actually, even after I went on maternity leave. I came back 3 months later, and Nunzio at that time had already left Boce. He was home with Lola while I went back to work. So he was like, you know what? Maybe this is a chance, maybe we can start, I can start up as a private chef or do some catering and see if he can figure that out. Because obviously this is, chefing has a little bit of a timeline where, once you start incorporating other things like starting a family and, having kids, these now start to become other priorities and take up a lot more of your time. So you have to either kind of get creative or find a way to work around that. And then especially with 2 chefs in the family, that also becomes challenging. So Nunzio was like, you know what? I want to try to be a private chef. So it's I'll stay home with the baby and, try to figure this out. And see if we can balance this.
I could totally see Nunzio doing that too.
Yeah. Oh my God, he was so good. He was making all the bottles, and when Lola started eating solids, he was making the little baby foods, the little jars in the fridge. He was so good. But at the same time, I went back to work. But then you kind of feel that pull. I was like, I want to be home with the baby, or I want to have more time for my family. So I tried to work out a schedule where I was maybe working in the morning and then, maybe not necessarily present for
dinner,
service
right.
at night, because I also had an incredible crew at that point. I had really great pastry cooks who I miss dearly, that they were just on it. They knew what they had to do. They knew what was going on. And, they, we communicated really well. So if something was missing or something needed to happen, I was like, okay, I'm on it. And I just, started kind of delegating from a distance. It got a little bit tricky, and I ended up switching to part-time. So I stayed on as a part-time pastry chef, still kind of doing that, delegating from a distance. So I would go in a couple of nights a week. I would make sure that they had the stuff that they needed, updating the menu as needed, and just kind of balancing that and Lola. And actually for a hot minute, I was an Italian teacher in Hialeah Garden.
Because why not?
Because why not? Because like I mentioned, my family's in education. My sister knew of an opening. She said, listen, maybe that could be a way for you to get into the school system, and you have summers off and spring break and the things, and maybe that could be an alternative. And so I got into that, and that was not me at all. I got out of that very quickly, just because teaching high school is very, very, very hard. So, I did do that for most of the school year, but by that April, this is like April 2018. By April 2018, Nunzio gets a job in Palm Beach Gardens. And now, for a while, he had been commuting from Miramar to Palm Beach Gardens every day. And it just became unsustainable. So he said, look, we need to find something that's a little bit closer up here. Mm-hmm. So we moved to Palm Beach Gardens for a year. I left the school in Bourbon Steak and everything. We just moved up to West Palm Beach. And he got a job at a restaurant up there as the chef de cuisine at Masseria in Palm Beach Gardens. So we did that for a little while, and I had another baby. And then Lucas came along. And so, with the birth, like now things start, kind of rolling along. So I've sort of been out of the kitchen for a little while. I stayed home with Lola while Nunzio was working, and we just kind of kept tag teaming that way. So in that year that I was home, I was pregnant again. And eventually Lucas comes along, and now we want to be closer to family, so we moved back down to Broward. Mm-hmm. And, at around this time, Mike was opening Nave.
Right.
In Coconut Grove. So he reached out to both of us. He says, listen, I need a CDC and a pastry chef if you guys are available. I was like, okay, sure. Yeah. We could do that. We'll figure it out. So we bought a house in Hollywood. We moved back down south. We were, going back and forth between Coconut Grove and just kind of, juggling the kids and the opening of new restaurants and all the different things. And then, you fast forward to March of 2020 and the city shuts down.
Right.
And that, everything just came to a screeching halt with COVID. And, you know, I remember getting the call that Sunday before, I guess, the city. I don't know why I remember such a specific date for it.
Right.
But it was just like, okay, from here forward, that's it. No more restaurants, no more nothing. Everything shuts down.
March 17th or something like that.
It was, it was like March 19th.
Yeah.
And
'cause I had a tasting. I was going to be at the counter at Altar. Chef's tasting menu.
Oh my gosh.
And it was, everyone was just so crazy. I'm messaging them. Nobody's answering me back. I'm like, are they open? It's only 4 people. Can we dine? It's just 4 people,
Yeah.
And and then it finally got a hold of them. They were like, oh, no, that dinner's canceled. I'm like, what do you mean the dinner's canceled?
Yeah. I remember that was just like such a bizarre, the world just stopped spinning.
And funny enough, my last dinner was actually, I think, Nave.
Oh, wow.
Right before shut down. I think I was there that Saturday.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Was it area? No, I'm pretty sure it was Nave. So look. Wow.
But yeah, the world just stopped spinning. And and I looked at each other like, well, what do we do now?
Right.
Like, what do we need to, do we start calling the cooks? Like, what's happening?
Right.
And so we just kind of navigated it with Mike. And, at this point, he was already pretty well established with Ariette and everything. He had his crew and Chugs and all that stuff. And we were just like, what happens? We don't know. So we called all the cooks and we said, you guys got to hang out for a minute until we figure this out. And we all got together and we said, okay, what can we do? What can't we do? And then that's when the takeout models started, you call it in, takeout, gift cards. They were selling off, wine, anything they could do to try to keep the restaurant open and functional. But after a couple of months of that, it became a little challenging.
Sure.
So I was just like, okay, we need a little bit of stability.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's only so much that a pastry chef can do, especially under those circumstances. I was like, nobody needs a fine dining pastry chef when people don't even go out to the restaurant anymore.
Right.
So, I started looking around. I was like, we need some kind of stability or some kind of assurance. So Publix was hiring. And, the Publix near our home was looking for cake decorators. I was like, oh, that's cool. So
With my
whatever, I
eyes
just sent
closed.
I was like, okay, I'll just send a resume and see what happens. And they called me. They were like, oh yeah, we need bakers. I was like, cool, I could do that. And so I left Nave to go work at Publix because it was the only thing that was still open then.
Right.
So I was just like, okay, I got 2 kids on a mortgage. I need to pay the bills.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't care. So, I
And you were doing the catering as well because we ordered from you guys.
Yeah. Nunzio was
two
still,
chefs. What was it called?
Two chefs are better than one.
2 chefs are better than one.
It's a play on 2 heads are better than one. But yeah, there was a lot of kind of just like juggling and hustling at the same time, just kind of like, trying to invent something for yourself. So in the meantime, I said to, Nunzio was still working with Mike, with Nave and Leña down at
Oh my God, yeah. That
at
little
South Beach, remember the
Time
food
Out
market? Yeah,
yeah.
there we go, Time Out. So he still had his job and he was still, kind of like critical. And I said, okay, I'm going to take the job at Publix and at least we know we got something going on. We have something to lean on. And I did that for almost a year, actually. And it was, 4 a.m. to noon. I'd go in, do the baking, do the cookies, do the whatever. And they were actually really good. They were flexible with me, too. I said, listen, when we opened Effe, eventually I was still at Publix and Nunzio opened himself. They worked with me. I was like, look, you got to give me some kind of a flexible schedule. And they were really great about it. But, yeah, when COVID hit, Effe was kind of a pipe dream because at the same time we were like, well, how long can we really keep doing this? Working night shifts and coming home at 1 o'clock in the morning. Right. I was like, honey, we have 2 children. Like, we need to find a stable situation. I had gone to see the space where Effe is now on my own with the kids. And I was like, oh, this could be a thing. And then, a week later, everything shut down. So I called the guy. I said, look, I can't do anything right now.
Right.
If you
As I'm sure everyone in every business
I was
did.
like, listen, I don't know what's up.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you find somebody that rents the space in the next couple, go with God. Like, go for it. But I can't do it. And then, everything just kind of unraveled COVID style. And when things settled down again, Nunzio was like, I really don't know how sustainable this is for me to, keep coming down to Coconut Grove and to just keep this job.
And here you are today again.
And here we are again.
We are recording in Coconut Grove.
But, that's what eventually, what's the word, like propelled the opening of Effe. We were just like, okay, you know what? Let's just take a shot.
Well, we love having you in Broward, in West Broward, especially for me. What is the favorite part of what you do?
Seeing my customers every day.
Even the ones that ring the bell?
Yeah, especially the ones that ring the bell. Because I know there's always going to be some, some fun story to go with that. But, I do, that is my favorite part. And I think sometimes Nunzio gets a little bit like, he gives me the side eye because I see my people and I'm excited to see them and make them.
Well, please. Really?
He's like, lady, we got things to do. I'm like, yeah, no, but look, Brenda's here.
Because Nuncio's always talking to everybody.
I know.
And he, long-winded like me. And we have these stories. And it's not just with me.
Yeah.
Not just because I'm special. He's talking to everybody, too. So, yeah. No, come on.
No, I love that. Like, I love seeing the people come in. And I'm like, hey, Jeff.
Like I said, it's like a
Cheryl, how are you?
Thing.
What's going on? How you feeling? How's your kid? What's going on? Like, it's catching up with friends. So it's that moment of, and I love that I know how all my customers take their coffee.
Yeah.
So I see them pulling up. I'm like, okay, here comes 2
café
con leche,
so
1 Splenda.
In case you don't know, you could go to their Instagram page and, they're very good about announcing what's next. Or Friday, this is going to be like the Wava and Brie, stuffed croissant or whichever one they have. And they announce like specials and stuff like that. What do you think separates South Florida from the rest of the country?
Oh my gosh.
Since we're so hot now.
Yeah.
So much hotter.
I think it's how fast everything moves and how I think the mix of, people and cultures and experiences and just ganas.
Right.
Because, we have it's that oomph. I'm kind of just like, listen, you do whatever you want, but if you don't have ganas, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
It's that, that push, that drive. There we go. Drive. That's the word.
Right.
That, we're always kind of inventing and,
One of my favorite, not that I miss anything from COVID, but the people that lived in the high rises, like on Brickell, the whole like cazuela, the banging of how this is like such a devastating time. Everyone's home, and now people are having DJ parties and balconies, and they're sounding the cazuelas with the.
That's what
they're
it is.
banging
Like, it's a
cazuelas,
party. I'm like, what are we gonna do?
who does
Like,
this? I bet you if this happened in any other state, that this would not have been a thing. And I'm watching this on like Only in Date. I'm thinking,
yeah.
I love this.
But that's what it
Only a
is.
day.
Like, it's hot, it's tropical. Well, we can't go to the beach. We'll bring the beach home. Like, whatever. The party is wherever I am. You know, I am the party.
Yeah.
So, you know, that kind of
That's that vibe.
It's that joy.
Maybe
it's joy.
That's true.
You know, and people are not going to be doing this in New York because it's freaking cold and they're covered in snow
Yeah,
and they're
they're definitely
cranky
not
and
banging
you know they're
cazuelas
not
in New York.
banging cazuelas, right? Like they're not into
That's
that.
so
Here we
funny.
can do that.
Yeah. Who cooks at home?
We take turns.
Yeah.
It's a pretty even split.
Good kid lunches too, I imagine.
You'd be surprised.
No?
Kids,
You're like
kids are great.
Pringles?
Listen, no, listen. It's funny actually because now that they're like, you know, that Lola's 8,
Yeah.
she's very recently like expressed that she recognizes the difference between my mommy and daddy and make it what other people do. But like simple things, like we were on vacation and this was like in January, and we stopped and we got a hot chocolate. I make hot chocolate with milk, with chocolate. I put a little bit of cinnamon, some vanilla, like I flavor it. It's not Swiss Miss, hot like cocoa powder and hot water.
No.
Right. So she gets one of these, cocoa powder with the water thing. She tries. She's like, "Mommy, that's not hot chocolate. There's something wrong with this hot chocolate." And I tried it. I was like, "Yeah, because that's not right. It's not Mommy's hot chocolate."
That's right.
And she's like, "Oh," or
That's cute.
Yeah. Or like, we went to Cheesecake Factory, which not for nothing. I love Cheesecake Factory because when you go with 2 kids, there's something for everybody and it's easy.
Yeah, a huge menu, of course.
It's easy. So I'm like, okay, you guys get your bow ties with tomato sauce and Daddy and I get our salad
Easy
or our sandwich
peasy.
or whatever. Yeah, I just want to sit and eat and not think about anything and not fight with anybody. One night she goes, I think I'll have the bow tie with butter and parm. I was like, baby, really? She's like, but that's what I want. I'm like, but it's not going to be good. She's like, well, but that's what I want. Okay. And it was awful. It was just like boiled pasta and it barely had any cheese on it. And maybe they like put the pat of butter, but they didn't even, you toss it in the butter.
No, yeah.
So I was like, okay, babe.
Te lo dije.
I was like, all right, that's
Yeah.
fine. So she has it. She's like, what's wrong with this? I was like, there's no love in it, darling. Like, it's not the same when Mommy and Daddy make you, butter and parm. They'd be like, you're stirring it in the pot, you're creaming the thing, you make sure it's nice and, saucy. And she's like, oh, okay. So I think now she's having a reckoning.
That's so cool.
So I'm like, oh, you see? It's not
so
like
cool.
por gusto. It's,
No,
not all the other kids are
Right. My lunch
eating
is better
like
than
you.
yours.
Yeah.
Who makes your favorite dessert in Miami?
That's a tough one. That's a really tough. Honestly, I haven't had dessert in Miami in a really long
Nothing
time.
that like blew you away that you think about, or I imagine it's tough. You're so good.
No, you know what? Actually, there was this is a major throwback, but there was it was at the do you remember the Vagabond? It opened like a fancy little restaurant inside.
Yes.
We went for dinner one night, and I'm always very like curious to see what other pastry chefs are doing. And they had this one thing, I don't remember what it was called, but it was like pistachio or something. And it was the way that it came out that kind of like stunned me. It was actually very good too, but the way that it was presented was just kind of funny. It looked like a prairie with like flowers or something. But it was this green sponge cake and pistachio. Like I don't remember what the flavors were, but I remember looking at it and going, I was like, that's very cute. And they had put like little marigolds on it, so it looked like a field of flowers. So I was like, that's nice. But honestly, I have a really hard time finding desserts that are like, whoa. Just because I think so many people play it safe.
Yeah.
It's chocolate with caramel and nuts or,
Molten
donuts
lava cake.
or lava cake. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to get so upset when lava cake was like the biggest seller at Bourbon Steak.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys, people don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, with a bonehead, too. I used to get so upset. I was like, you're not getting it.
I know. The last time I went to, remember the Forge? I remember I went to the Forge for Miami Spice, like, obviously ages ago. And they had a molten lava cake on their menu for Miami Spice. And the thing was that the Forge at that time, it was just coming down from a very, very high. They had reached this peak, that that was so great, and they were like falling, but they were falling fast. And
Oh no.
and that was after that time. I mean, that day, like the steak was awful, and then
Oh
and
no.
I was just like, a molten lava cake, like chocolate lava. This is what you're
That's what you got?
serving
Yeah.
at the Forge? Like, no.
Now I will say a good
And
lava cake.
but it wasn't even good, and that's the thing,
that's
because
a
I
bummer.
actually love chocolate cake.
Yeah, like I
Chocolate
love a
cake
good
is-
lava cake. That's my listen. I'm very basic.
But because
I
if
want
you're
to
in
make
in a specific place,
Right.
you don't want that. You want something else. You know?
right. So you kind of got to read the room a little bit. Like I'm always like
Yeah.
wherever I am.
There
I
was no twist in it. There was no like angle. It was just the most basic,
yeah.
awful. No. Anyway, what are the short-term plans for Effe, and then the long-term plans?
Gosh, I don't know. Right now, short term survival, because we just changed the menu last
Yes,
week, and we are
saw that. I haven't had the new stuff.
struggling with, like just to try to keep up with prep. Like it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Because our customers are so enthusiastic, and oh my God, like I don't have the words to express the gratitude that we have for how consistent they're. Like we have customers that come 3-4 times a week
Yeah.
for breakfast and for lunch and for things, and they want to try, and they order all the things. In the last 2 weeks since we've changed the menu, we just can't keep up with the prep.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we've added we added more things to the menu.
Right.
So now we're just like, well, I want to make. And the other thing also was with the new menu change, I was like, okay, listen, this is our last shot. Like, yeah, we're basically running a restaurant out of a garde manger station because there's no kitchen there.
Right.
It's an oven, not even a griddle anymore. We had to switch out the griddles for the air fryers. So we're not even cooking like active, like the way that we were before. So we had to, it was just a paradigm shift. Just due to, code changes or whatever. Like
Right.
what we were doing before is now suddenly not okay. So we just had to adapt to that because I'm still in the middle of a lease, dude.
Of course.
So, it said, okay, what is the best possible sandwich that I can make under these conditions? Okay, let's make baguettes now too. So we're making sourdough, we're making focaccias, we're making baguettes for the sandwiches, we're making buckets and buckets of sourdough because now we have a menu that's all dedicated to toasts on our homemade sourdough. So there's like 8 different ways that you can get a toast. It's not just an avocado toast. I've got one with curry chicken salad, or the other one with, the lox that we make ourselves, or there's always something a little bit different. So I think short term, if we can just make it to the summer and, Nunzio not blow a gasket, that's already a really great thing. We would really like to start online ordering and just try to get delivery underway because I think that would help us at least expand our reach a little bit.
Right.
Because that's the one thing that we're limited on. We don't have delivery. So unless you come and get it yourself, you're not getting it.
Right.
So that's something for me to work on a little bit on the back end. And we're getting to it. We're just kind of, we had hoped to do it before the holidays, and then the holidays happened. We're like, okay, now's not a good time. And then after the holidays, we're like, oh, things are going to slow down, except they didn't slow down. And then Valentine's Day, and it's just been continuously growing and busy. So
Which tells you something, right?
yeah, no, and I'm like, these are
We
all
love
really,
you.
these are great problems
Yeah.
to have.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, whatever we do, we always want to make sure that we don't bite off more than we can chew.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to start delivery, I want to make sure that I am able to produce the volume to accommodate that, because the worst thing that we think you can do is piss off your customers.
Right. No.
Because, and especially the setting that we're in, I feel like kind of puts us under a microscope because a lot of people are skeptical of what we're doing and where we're doing it.
I love leading with, oh, you have to try this place. It's in a gas station, and then so their interest peaks. But then I know I see how their wheels are turning.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm like, but the chefs come from Michelin pedigree, and then they
Yeah.
perk up again, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like, wait, what? And
Yeah.
then what do you mean they're in a gas station? But then now they're all in. Like, I
Yeah.
need to get to this gas station.
It's been really interesting also just learning as we go.
It's just
how
like
to-
it shows your experience.
Right, how to tell and like spin our story.
Right.
So when we first opened, like if we sold $100 in a day, we were like, wow, this was a good day. And then, when the Sun Sentinel heard about us and they wrote their piece and they kind of told our story for us, people were like, oh, okay. And then, that's when the traffic started to pick up.
Good.
So now all of our newcomers are either like, oh, so-and-so told me, I heard great things, I read your review or whatever. It's still a lot of word of mouth. are like everything. It's like I was saying before, everything we do ourselves. So even our social media presence, our, you know, how we market ourselves, our branding, our, you know, all of these different things. Let me tell you something, Canva and I are like this.
Yeah, I love Canva too.
You know, I figured it out real fast. But that's what it came down to, is trying to constantly find a way to tell our story, to get people to believe it. And it's funny sometimes, like Nunzio and I all have a giggle because we'll see people, the way that it presents itself, people think that we have this like super chic, bougie cafe or whatever. And we don't. It's literally a countertop inside of a gas station.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, you know, we'll see customers walk up and they're looking at their phone. It's like this. They're looking at their phone.
Is it here? Could it be here? Yeah.
And this face,
right.
You know, the disconnect. They're like,
yeah.
But that's not what I was expecting. I'm like, no, that's okay.
Yeah.
And you know, they either take a chance and they come in and they try it, and then we can kind of talk them into it. And I'll be like, you know, lead, hi, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Try to welcome them in, and you tell them, like, listen, we make everything from scratch. All the bread that you see here.
That's the charming part.
All of the, I think short term is, you know, getting more people to find us.
Right.
And, you know, trying to understand what it is that we do. So a lot of it is still telling our story and, you know, getting people to sort of trust that we're that we're giving them real food, and it's not, you know, what you would expect out of a gas station.
Right.
What I like to say, I'm like, it's what is it? It's food made in a gas station. It's not gas station food.
Okay, I love that. Yeah.
So it's not, you know, what you would normally expect. It's just a space for us to sort of create and make the things that we like. And honestly, you know, it is kind of interesting being back of the house and front of the house at the same time. We greet, you know, those new customers, and they come in and they say, well, what's the most popular thing on the menu? What do you like? I'm like, well, actually, I wrote the menu, so I like all the things. But I'm like,
it's mine.
I'm like, I'm sorry.
The BLT with extra mayo.
Oh, my God, the BLT is so good.
The
BLT is so good. And
it's so simple, but it
so
isn't.
Simple,
what are you doing? What are you putting in that?
No, nothing. I mean, the turkey's good, and the bacon's good, and the bread is great, and it's all the things together.
But it's perfect.
Crisp.
The cold is cold.
Yeah.
And the extra mayo, of course, because
the extra mayo.
It's
mayo.
It's mayo. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
I love it so much.
So, you know, I guess it's just expanding a little bit. Long term, yeah, we would like to have the bougie little cafe with the little tables and the, pretty little coffee things. And, you know, someday we will. But it's also, we're really focused on, we really want to stay in Cooper City. There is something, you know, Cooper City's motto is it's someplace special. And it is, because it's like this tiny little kingdom. It's remarkable to me, especially in the beginning. I was like, my gosh, Cooper City residents do not leave Cooper City.
Right.
And it's a a 2 square mile radius? Like, it's an itty bitty thing.
A five mile radius.
Yeah. We, you know, our entire life is in this tiny little hamlet.
Yeah.
But even the residents are so loyal to Cooper City businesses. Yeah. So there's a part of me that was like, I would love to get out of this gas station and actually have a place, like a proper place with, you know, a door. I'm like, I just want a door.
Your own bathroom.
My own bathroom. Things like that, you know, bar's really low. But at the same time, it's difficult to find something that's available in Cooper City because it's so small. And if we move to the other side of like University, or, you know, we go a little bit too far in one direction or the other, where we're in Pembroke Pines, I'm really afraid that we would lose, you know, a lot of those customers because we're in the heart of Cooper City.
But being biased because I'm in Pembroke Pines, come.
No, we would love to.
I do drive to you, but
that's true.
It still takes 15-20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that close.
You know, the charm of what we're able to do, like, it's also special because of where we are. Mm-hmm. And because we are on the way, or, you know, we are in the middle of all of our customers' kind of life. Yeah. They're dropping their kids off at school, or they're working from home, and they live right there in Embassy Lakes or behind the gas station, you know, in that neighborhood. It's very easy for them to come to us. So
to pop in, there's plenty of parking.
Pop in, exactly.
I've never had a problem with parking at all.
Exactly. So, I mean, not for nothing, but folks from El Carajo, if you're listening, I would love to know how you did what you did, because
oh my gosh, yeah,
that's like that's my mecca. I'm like, what if we did that? Like, what if we just took over the gas station, and then it just became this really cool like eatery. But that's another ball of wax, and that's another conversation to have with someone much bigger than me.
Yeah.
But I don't know, goals.
Good.
Soñar no cuesta nada. So
No, and it will happen. It will happen. What do you want listeners to know that I have not already covered?
I don't know. I think. I think it really is just like, especially with as many food options that there are out there, to just kind of be kind to your small businesses. Because I find that a lot of times it is very, and thank goodness, we've gotten really great reviews on all of the various platforms precisely because we put so much work and so much, like we are so attentive to everything that happens. But
so lovable, both of you too.
You know
so
what it is?
easy to
Okay.
love.
So I don't want to be that guy, but there's this meme that I saw one time on Facebook that I was like, you know what? That's 100% true.
Your memes are funny on a side note.
McDonald's
posting
will
the best.
screw up your burger and you will go back to McDonald's. A mom and pop shop will they will mess up your coffee or something and you will like badmouth them to everybody. So there's a level of humanity that you kind of have to, really approach these small businesses, these, entrepreneurs, and, just remember that these little places, it's not a giant corporation. It's, a family just trying to survive and feed their kids and keep a roof over their heads and then just kind of do what they love to do. In fact, we did have one really, really nasty review one time, and I felt it inside. Because this lady, and I get it. If you were looking for something else, like if you want that triple shot caramel macchiato with the foam on top and the, fireworks coming out of it, cool. You are not going to be happy when you come to me. So no matter what you ask, I'm going to try to accommodate you. But if that's what you're looking for, I'm not it. So I think there's also something to be said for when customers come to a place and they have an expectation and that place doesn't meet their expectation. Well, how much of it is the fact that you chose the wrong place?
Right.
Like you gotta also know where you're going.
That's what I was saying in the beginning. That if you think you're gonna come in here and be like in and out, it's
right. And even
like
then,
physically, like you're doing everything from scratch. So like,
right. And
not,
even then, like Nunzio is making the sandwiches and making the coffee and pulling the like we're both doing 3 jobs at the same time.
Yeah.
So there needs to be a little bit of like a buffer, just a little bit of understanding for what's going on there.
Yeah.
And just kind of read the room, work with what you got in front of you. Don't pull something out and just be like, oh, well, this is what I want. Well, I'm sorry, dude, I don't have that. I can't give that to you. I wish I could, but that's not me.
Was it Google or Yelp?
It was Yelp. And this was when we first opened, like the very, very first iteration of Effe.
Yeah.
When we opened during COVID. There's actually only 2 customers have gotten really nasty with us online, and I made sure, I was like, no, listen, that's not cool. But this particular customer I got really upset with because in her review, she left this like 10 minutes after she left. I was like, my dude, like if you were unhappy with your sandwich, just come back and tell me.
Right.
And I'll try to fix it.
Right.
But she was just really mean. And she ended her review with, do not go here. And I was like, okay, listen, you can have whatever feelings you want about this, but that's not okay because this business that you're telling people to avoid supports a family of 4. Okay, there are human beings behind it. Mm-hmm. So slow down a little bit.
It's just a sandwich.
Yeah, I'm like, it's just a sandwich. She was like, oh my God, the eggs were overcooked and the coffee wasn't right because she wanted Starbucks and we're not Starbucks. Mm-hmm. So I was like, not it, wrong place, sorry. But yeah, that's something else. I, encourage, like, listen, before you drag somebody online for all the world to see, make an effort to take it up directly with, the business and see if they can fix it. Because a lot of times, like, everybody has an off day and nobody's ever 150% every single day. So, just be aware of that. Because we do try. And obviously, especially because we are the business owners, we are making that effort to make sure that it is as good as it can be. But you know what? We get tired too, or you get distracted, or you got something going on. Of course. And things can slip.
Well, take it from me. Do go there.
Please do come. Give it a shot.
There. Thank you so much, Patty, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
And for you, the listener, thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Send me your thoughts, ideas, likes, and even gripes. I don't know if you say that one now. I do love hearing from you all. You can reach me on DM on any social media or thewetpalate@gmail.com. That's it for today. From my palate to yours. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Ooh. Oh, and the first one just